Danyelle Freeman is a food scene siren, a Harvard graduate turned true foodie who creates gastronomical guides and writes about her love-hate global relationship with food and its makers. For years, she got more excited about the perfect steak than the perfect man, which led her to a food writing career. She is the former food critic for New York Daily News. She has been a judge on Iron Chef America and on The Chalking Block. Her new book is called Try This. It is my pleasure to welcome Danyelle Freeman to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Thank you for having me. I love that. What kind of siren?
A food siren. No, I think I called you something more than that, didn't I?
Yeah, I got
a culinary siren.
Yeah.
Well, you write for a living.
You
can steal it.
Okay, thank you.
If you want, because I know things about you. You're a former picky eater. You were a vegetarian. You grew up in a family that would drive to find food.
Yes.
Not necessarily go to the five-star restaurants.
Exactly. You know, it's funny. I was not born a foodie. But I was born into a food family. So we always hunted down food. The man behind the seafood counter used to save my mom soft-shell crabs. And at the time, we would drive to Elizabeth, New Jersey, where my parents grew up. And there was this restaurant called Spirito's. And it was a sort of a gang-riddled neighborhood at the time. And my parents would make us get down on the floor of the car to go through the neighborhood to avoid gunfire, all in the name of veal cutlet, garlic salad, ravioli, and pizzas. So we loved food, but like any other family, we had a favorite deli, we had a favorite diner, we had a favorite Italian, we had a favorite Spanish. We even had a Mongolian restaurant that managed to last 17 years in a small town in Short Hills, New Jersey.
How great. What didn't you have? Did you have Indian?
You know, we didn't. I feared Indian. You hit the nail on the head. I think we fear what we don't know. We always fear what we don't know. I mean, I was just in Mexico and I was taking a surfing lesson, and my immediate reaction to everything is no, right? No. And the surfing instructor said to me, "You're going to be the last out of the water, I promise." And I was the last out of water. I fell in love. Except for food. I've learned that food is never something you say no to. You always say yes. You always try something before you decide you don't like it.
Well, you write about Indian food, South Asian food in here, certainly a lot. And I like the little anecdotes on the side, like Churchill and was it Charlie Chaplin ate at a restaurant in London, in England, called the Swami or something, the Veeraswamy, or
it was one of the first Indian
something
restaurants.
like that.
Yeah, here. Yeah, it was really amazing. You know, we talk about these things like tikka masala. It's funny, which is actually not like a traditional Indian dish, but it's Indian by way of England. So a lot of these dishes like pad thai is not really Thai at all. It was brought over by Vietnamese traders, and I fell in love with like the history and the culture of food. But like you said, I was a vegetarian.
Yeah, so you had to move ahead.
Yeah.
But you also point out in here, why have pad thai when you can have a bazillion other Thai dishes that are way more Thai?
Exactly. Well, once you find out that pad thai was not really Thai at all, but sort of a new dish for them, and you know, it was brought on to help boost the rice economy in Thailand. So there's this whole world of food. You can never really get bored at the table. Like there's a restaurant called Street Pie in New York, and it has 25 pages of the menu. You could eat there every day of the year. Remember that movie Julia and she cooks out of it? You could eat at this restaurant every day of the year and not get bored. So why eat the same thing all the time, really, is my point.
Exactly, and you make that well in Try This, because it made me want to go to Balthazar immediately in New York City.
Good.
And other places, Little Joints, Spotted Pig. It all began there, or how did it work?
It did. It's funny.
Spotted Pig in New York.
I was a foodie by then, and I wanted to have my birthday dinner. It was, I think it was my 30th birthday dinner. I don't want to date myself too old. But it was April Bloomfield she came over from England, and she opened up a restaurant with Ken Friedman called the Spotted Pig, and it's this gastropub, and it was really one of, if not the first gastropub in America.
What does that mean, gastropub?
So a gastropub literally means nothing more than like a casual, laid-back place that serves really creative, imaginative food. So that's where the gastronomy comes into it all. And I think that's happening a lot. That's happening here, that's happening all over the world. It's just these restaurants that are more laid back, more affordable, because one, we're just not such formal eaters anymore. So we don't like to eat, you know, these fancy 8-course meals anymore, and we can't afford them. So that was the answer. So we're all sitting there, and we're all these sort of well-heeled, well-educated women having dinner for my birthday.
Kind of Sex in the City.
Yeah, we were very Sex in the City, though I hate to admit that, yes. And still so. And we all open our menus, and everyone's gabbing, and silence falls over the table. And the menu was written in English, but it might as well have been written in a foreign language. I mean, there were things called roll mops, devils on horseback, angels on horseback. And we didn't know what any of these things were at the time. So it was literally like reading a foreign language. And there was no guide. There was no glossary like attached to the menu.
Right, because it wasn't in a foreign language.
It was in English. It
was in English, but it was angels on horseback, which is oysters.
Exactly. Yes, you got it. What are devils?
Devils, I don't know.
It's bacon wrapped, so bacon wrapped prunes.
Oh, prunes are devils?
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yes, and the
What
angel
wrapped
is
scallops?
the oyster. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
that's why you're the restaurantgirl.com and I'm not.
Well, I heard you're a really good eater.
I am a good eater, and I love going out to dinner and trying everything. I'm right with you. I'm an Anthony Bourdain girl. I don't know if I can eat ants every other day. But Gabrielle Hamilton is here. I'm also a traditional eater, and simplicity runs through prune, right, in New York.
Yeah.
And it's kind of old, but it's new again.
It's
in
old,
a sense.
And it's creative comfort food. And that's really where we're at right now.
Lots of offal.
Yeah.
O-F-F-A-L, awful.
That's right. That's right.
Right, so you have to do liver and brains and...
Well, that's very gastropub, too. I mean, that was the very much the spotted pig of it all.
Okay.
But that's right. I mean, yeah, so nobody was eating offal a couple years ago, too. And now, you know, we'll eat anything we haven't heard of. It's an exciting, adventurous time for foodies.
Sure, and sometimes you don't tell people what they're eating, just say, do you like it?
Right.
You are a hot and sour snoop, if I can say it.
Snoop Dogg.
Hot and sour soup snob when you were little.
I was. You know, I love that story because I wasn't an adventurous eater, but my mom swore that I was eating hot and sour soup since the time I was 1, which is sort of brave for a little kid. And yeah, you know.
Sort of.
But yeah. And I mean, I just love the broth, and it's so wonderful and comforting. And that soup is such an example of like why have chicken noodle soup all the time when you can have, you know, these wonderful soups of the world. But yeah, so we ate very like traditional Cantonese American food. I didn't really know any more of Chinese food. I had no idea there was Szechuan. I had no idea there were Shanghai soup dumplings. I had no idea there were like knife cut, you know, noodles or hand pulled noodles, and you know that the world was just filled every meal as an opportunity for adventure.
Sure. Well, you talk about manners in here too, cultural manners. Like in some countries, yes, you can slurp your noodles. In most countries, not in Italy so much. Well, you can slurp a little bit, but what is it about winding that spaghetti?
Well, it's
Do you wind it in a spoon, or is that déclassé? Or do you wind it on the plate?
You actually wind it on the spoon. That's the way
It's okay.
to do it. Yeah, you can wind it on a plate too. You know, Italians
They don't think you're a
aren't that
peasant
fussy.
if you wind it on the spoon.
They like when you wind. That's the important thing. And they like when you slurp in a lot of Asian cultures, because if you don't slurp, like especially soba, it's such an interesting texture and flavor. And when it's hot, that if you don't eat it very quickly, it changes and it loses its elasticity. So it just sort of becomes this limp noodle, for lack, you know, of a better word. And so that's why they slurp, because they want to get it in as quick as possible. And it's not bad manners to pick your bowl up, you know, whereas, you know, in an American restaurant, that's very bad manners.
Yes, it is. And you don't put your chopsticks in a bowl.
You do not.
Like this, because it has something to do with death. When we come back, we'll talk about that. That's rude. Okay.
It is
Try this, traveling the globe without leaving the table. Danyelle Freeman, our guest, she is founder and editor of restaurantgirl.com, and she writes for the Wall Street Journal, New York Daily News, and other newspapers and magazines.